you've done projects with us before. You kind of know how Anvil operates. And I think the goal here is just kind of pull back the screen a little bit so you can see kind of what all that we are made of and all of our integrated tools and how it all pulls together.
Yes.
So all of your work group leads are here. You've got process lead, mechanical lead, all of the disciplines are covered here. But when you have a larger project and you need more reach, we get to pull in those resources. And a lot of them have worked Alaska work. They've worked drill sites. They've done refinery work up here. And so they understand the Alaska market. But from my perspective, I want the very best people. I don't care where they're housed at. I want the best people working on my project. So that those 6 branches really come together. We all use the same tools. We all work together. And the goal here is just to deliver the very best success we can for our clients. So that's the ultimate goal. It also gives us flexibility. So the Anchorage office has been super busy. We've been having a lot of people from our Bellingham office help us out, which has been great. But at the flip side, you know, if we're slow, we're helping Bellingham or one of the other branches. So that's kind of the flip side of it all. I guess go back really quick.
Back if I just scroll it back.
Oh, okay.
So hang on, I can figure this out.
Okay, so maybe are you organized by whatever you want to call it, I guess functional or discipline? Are you organized or segregated by industry?
No, not at all. So that's actually why I wanted to flip back to this. So we've got the program manager, so that's Terry. He's the vice president and the program manager of Anchorage. I'm a project manager working under it. But then we've got all of these leads here in this Anchorage office. They are all supported by what we call like programs. So other engineers here in this office or folks out of the other branches that have done Alaska work, and then other multidisciplines that can come in and help. But we are not organized by industry or anything like that. It is purely by, we've got, like, let's say Terry Surratt is the process lead here in Anchorage office. He's got 3 people under him for our process department. And then he reports into the process manager for all of it. So everything is managed here locally. Okay. I would say the one thing, like right now I've been traveling, we've got a lot of offices or employees supporting our Anchorage office. So I go down to Bellingham quite often just to make sure like the team members are engaged, they understand what's going on, what the mission and the goal of the projects are. So even though we're separated, there's a lot of engagement still there. Okay. Project sizes, we do kind of everything. I mean, we do a lot of small projects and we've helped Jason out on small little things or something larger too. Definitely able to flex that size a lot. Definitely on the smaller projects, it's primarily all a local team. And then if it's something a little bit larger, the resources that are leading the project are here locally, and then we might tap into other resources, kind of depending on the discipline. Long-standing relationships. We've kept with our clients for a long time. I mean, we don't really turn and burn with different clients. We have a set of core clients that we do a lot of work with and have established those relationships for over 50 years. This office opened in '84, so we've been in Alaska for, going on 40 years and have a strong presence and have kept a lot of the same clients.
And you like these digs?
And this is amazing. It's like so much nicer.
Were you familiar with our old office?
I was in there like 10 years ago.
It didn't get any better.
No.
So
Vintage, right? Isn't that?
yeah, that's a good word. So yeah, I think we're all a lot happier here. It's a better showcase for us to meet clients, you name it. Right, you're across the hallway here, or across the park.
Yeah, just a short walk.
A lot of pluses to moving this location. And one, you want people to come to work. You want them to want to come to work. So this was definitely a plus.
A lot safer too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think this was one of the first heated sidewalks I'd seen, it doesn't look like it's on there, but it was.
The BP Tower has one, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they seem to be.
Yeah.
Sure.
Projects do tend to run within 5% of the budget. So, you know, my goal or my part of my life is really making sure that the team members understand their scope, they know their budget and their schedule. So my routine is every Monday I look at what did you earn and what did you spend? Why is there a difference? And I never want to see my projects at a perfect 1.0 because you're lying to me until the very end and then something's going to go wrong. So give me actual progress. We have rules of credit. We want our team members to be following those rules of credit. And then really be managing that all along. Is there a change? Is there something that came up, and making sure that we are managing that very diligently. So our tools are all integrated together. We've got ACE, which is how we set up a project and get the project number going from the very point of a proposal all the way through the execution of that project. Our teams use the project services estimate tool, and that's also what we use for all of our change notices. So it's all in one tool. You can see what all you budgeted for Primavera, P6, what everybody else is using. Project tracking, the expectation is at the end of the week, everybody goes in, they progress track against their rules of credit, not against what they actually spent, but their rules of credit, and then timekeeping, making sure that they go in and record their time on a weekly basis. So that all goes into our reporting systems and pull the reports every week, look for issues, and then send those over to the clients at the end of the week. Questions?
So with all these tools that you've got there, I guess at what, how should I say, dollar value or size of team that it makes sense to employ all of those?
All of the projects use them. So I guess the caveat would be maybe, depending on the project, like maybe if we were doing a study, maybe it wouldn't be in a P6 schedule, depending on what the project is, but they all get set up and it's like, takes seconds, right? It's not time consuming, and then that all integrates together. I mean, on some projects that we have that are a larger scale, they want customized reports. And so we develop different reporting, but the generic reports are just a click of the button, they go out to the clients.
And then on the rules of credit,
Yep.
you know, that's part of your value process. Wow. Let's take the example of writing a report or doing some feed studies where there isn't, you know, the quantified deliverables, you know, the scheduled values or whatever. Maybe talk through how you.
Not like ISO generation or something like that, right?
Exactly. Like sometimes you can do a lot of work and not have much to show for it. So maybe can you elaborate on that? I guess how that.
Yeah, I don't think in studies we have the same rules of credit. I've never seen those. It's more on more detailed and production work.
With the data, when you got the data sheets and the drawings.
I think it comes down to how we set up the project. We got a project services estimate. We have a lot of elements in that tool, and the people doing the work, or the supervisors or the individual discipline groups, are tasked with coming up with the estimate. And they say, you know, they look at the scope and they say, we're going to need this, this, and this. They basically follow an execution plan that the project manager would establish during discussions with the client, and they're conveyance to the team. From that, they pick the buckets, and the buckets have a kind of a rule of credit associated with it. They're basically saying this task should take 4 to 6 hours, depending on complexity. At that point, the person doing the inputting makes a judgment call. This is a simple project. I'm going to pick an hour unit, the unit of hours on the low end. Same person that does the estimate might be the one that actually statuses each week. And it's their job to go in and discuss with the disciplines or the resources working on the work and say where you're at. Show me, tell me where you're at, whatever, or they know themselves because maybe they're working on the project. And they go in, they say, on this, I got 10 ISOs. We're roughly 30% done. 30% times the bucket of hours, and then that's how we earn our credit. And then it's just a simple comparison to how many hours you earned for that discipline. So rudimentary math, and it comes down to setting up the job that way and actually doing good judgment.
Yeah, I mean, I think going back to your example though, let's say a report or a study, and how do you make sure as a client that I'm going to get that report within the budget that I've given to you on the time that I'm expecting it, which can be a whole, you know, it could be a science experiment for somebody. So how do you control that and make sure that you get that wrapped up? And so I know I've managed projects like that before where you're just checking in, like, where are you at? Are we on track? Okay, you were halfway spent with your budget. Are we on track for these things? Let's give a, you know, quick phone call to the client and explain where you're at so that they're getting a level of comfort, or you ran into an issue. Like you're digging into this and you're running into this issue. Well, let's communicate back to you so that you know, oh yeah, let's go ahead and start going down that rabbit trail and see where it goes. Like, you know, spend a day on it, report back, let's see what we want to do here. But it really comes back to the communication of, okay, what are we finding on this study? Is it on track, or are we running into issues here?
Good, thank you.
Okay, yep. Then just a summary of, you know, in my mind, I think high performing teams, which I strive to run as a project manager, that's what I want, comes back to the processes. So Anvil has very clear quality requirements. Our processes are very well established. We do audits every month to make sure our teams are following those processes. We have an exceptional, and unfortunately you missed it, but process team. I mean, our process capabilities and the rigor behind that, I think, really sets up our project from the very beginning very successfully. So have good processes, the communication of just everybody's talking, everybody knows what's going on. And, you know, I was talking to another project manager the other day about this. I don't think there's like a fit for size or a perfect communication plan. I've had projects where weekly meetings are great. I've had projects where that does not work. We need a stand-up meeting every other day to talk about the progress and what's happening. And I think it's just, I think that's part of project management. It's just an art. It's not a science. And you've got to figure out your team members and what works for them. And is it a project and is it a team that is sufficient on a weekly meeting, or is it one that needs to check in like for 15 minutes every day? What's going on with it? Is it in detailed design where there's a lot of interdiscipline coordination, or is it a study? You know, let's just make this fit for purpose and have that communication. And then contribution, making sure that everybody's contributing, they understand what they're working towards, what does successful look like, and making sure everybody's contributing. So, and then that overall interaction. We talk about the integrated tools, cost, schedule, and reporting. To me, I think the success is upfront defining the requirements. We understand what are the requirements of a client, and you guys are both from two different clients, right? And so just because I did a project with Jason doesn't mean that your requirements are going to be the same. And we want to make sure upfront we're defining those requirements. What do you want for a deliverable? What quality of a deliverable do you want? I mean, Jason might want ISOs dropped and cleaned up and perfect, and Hillcorp might be like, just drop them out of ISO, John. We don't need them cleaned up. Like, don't spend the extra 10 hours. Just give me the ISOs and give them to the fabricator and answer questions. Like, they don't have to be pretty. We're not even going to keep them in our records. Like, we're going to dump them after we fabricate. So understanding and defining that requirement up front is huge. And then just making sure we're aligning consistently with those expectations.
So then, yeah, I apologize, missing the beginning. Do you have prompts or checklists or things like that to
built into our
We do.
system?
So there's checklists from the very beginning of writing the proposal to the PMID development, all the way through the project checklist.
And those are the checklists that get audited every month. Okay.
And then on the reporting, what is your, I guess your reporting cycle? You know, you talked about you've got your earned value, your statusing, and then what would be the, I guess, the time delay between when you issue that report?
Yeah. So typically, so our weekend is on Friday, and it typically is a week later that the reports are sent out, usually on Thursdays or Wednesdays. And it can deviate from that. It's not locked into that at all. But what we like to do is provide a little bit of synopsis of like, what did we work on and what's coming up, and here's your report. And those are typically issued out on Wednesday or Thursday.
Okay, so it sounds like it's within a week.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
But that's what we report to the clients. The expectation for project leaders is that they check their jobs as soon as the data dump is done.
Every Monday morning.
Yeah.
So Monday morning, I'm cleaning those things up, asking, somebody might have forgot to do progress. They wanted to go out skiing. They forgot to do it on Friday. So let's clean it up. Clean it up. By Tuesday afternoon, it's usually locked in, and then we can start running reports and getting those ready to issue.
So with your collaboration when you work in the different locations, are you using more of the cloud-based file sharing?
We use Teams a lot. So Teams is definitely how we set up our projects. And then anything that is interdiscipline shared is on that, like the basis of design or anything like that. Scopes of work are all developed in a Teams folder. So everybody's working there together. And then as far as like modeling or anything like that is on the network folders.
Each location has a dedicated server. So like here, all of our project files for Alaska are going to be on a local drive here. But anybody in the organization can access it.
And then every client wants interaction differently too. So I have a client right now that wants to be highly engaged with us. And so we have a team site. All of our action items are there. The decision logs are there. When we are working on a document together, it's shared there. But I have other clients that just are like, give me my deliverables. I don't need to be engaged. So we can definitely make that work depending on what your needs are.